Hello, Morrisville. It's my pleasure to provide you with a video presentation highlighting key facts that make up the proposed fiscal year 2021 annual operating budget and capital investment program. Annual budgets provide a legal budgetary authority and policy direction from town council to a town manager necessary to provide community services and plan for future investments. The town manager is responsible to prepare and propose an annual operating budget that works to achieve the goals of the community. Budgets must be prepared in accordance with the North Carolina Local Government Fiscal Control Act, and it is required to be balanced. That is, that anticipated revenues must equal projected spending levels needed for the year to deliver the growing services for our community. Fiscal year 21 budget and CIP was developed to work towards staying focused on continuing our good work for the community, recognizing the challenges we face in these uncertain times. There are a number of significant factors that work to shape the framework of this budget. Our budget development began early with a strong economy, and then things changed suddenly. COVID-19 has changed our daily lives and created a recession-like event, causing us to anticipate impacts to responsibly adapt and reassess our strategy. Wake County property reappraisals concluded this year, essentially right-sizing property values to current market conditions. This resulted in about a 20% increase in assessed values overall. Our uncertain economy has influenced many of the town's revenue streams and overall our available budget capacity. We have identified available reserves, and we have scrutinized department-based budgets and new requests carefully. We have developed fiscally responsible strategies to help safeguard the town's financial condition for today and tomorrow. These strategies focus on sustaining the core services that citizens continue to expect and planning for our future. It is important to continue commitments towards existing investments that align with the town's strategic goals, so our good work is not lost. A few examples would be additional resources to complete relocation of senior activities to a senior center. With the completion of MEFC pending very soon, we needed additional programming and enhancements to improve quality of life elements and repurpose the open space remaining in Cedar Fork Community Center to expand youth preschool programs. Core strategies include leveraging reserves, projecting impacted revenues conservatively, and proposing a tax rate following a reappraisal that retains resources to meet the continuing growing demands of the community. Budget controls implemented included several deferred requests, deferred equipment replacements, alternative options, and developed spending controls to ensure our ability to be responsive in the fiscal year to manage spending effectively within this uncertain economy. The town manager has offered alternative scenarios should town council desire to adjust the proposed budget as presented. The general fund and stormwater fund are our primary operating funds. They deliver core services that get the work done. The combined budget request authority equals $38.2 million. That is approximately 5.7% higher than prior year's original budgets. Where the money comes from. A tax rate of 36.5 cents is proposed to retain some of the value generated by the re-evaluation process for the purposes of reinvesting in the growing services and programs needed for our town. Stormwater and vehicle decal fees remain unchanged. The budget has included moderate user fee adjustments to offset the cost to provide those services. For primary revenues, ad valorem is our largest source at 59% of our total budget. Our second largest source is sales tax and represents 14% of our total budget, and it is the largest source identified in the intergovernmental category shown in the chart above. Utility sales tax equals 4.4% and video programming is 1.5%. Both are also included in the intergovernmental category source. Restricted sources primarily include Powell bill funds that are specifically used for roadway maintenance. This year it also includes a 50% matching grant from Wake Transit for a future public transportation service that is proposed in this budget. Development services revenues in aggregate continue to show strong projections. This is largely due to the permits fees that have increased by 12% in fiscal year 20 projected actuals as compared to fiscal year 19 actuals. In fiscal year 21 projections, we have adjusted for the trends in commercial permit growth. Overall, the combined revenue type is defined as an unpredictable source, and therefore our standard conservative approach in forecasting is recognized in this budget. Conservative forecasting becomes critically important in this economic climate to safeguard the town's short-term and long-term financial condition. COVID-19 has impacted several of our revenue streams. We anticipate that ad valorem, vehicle decal, and utility tax collection rates will likely experience some impact. Sales tax revenues are very susceptible to consumer confidence issues and the volatility of the economy. Investment earnings have dropped significantly. Loss in revenues creates added burden on other revenues and reserves. Morrisville has tried to recognize growth in some revenues where we reasonably could, such as development fees and fees related to the reopening of MAFC, while remaining still conservative. Strategies applied for some major revenues have flattened out future projections, safeguarding against potential or underperforming revenues due to these uncertain economic conditions. Many trends and data to base revenue assumptions on are largely unclear and complicate our means to project and forecast several of our revenues, like sales tax. While current conditions are not the same as the recession in 2009, there were many lessons we've learned from that experience that can help us today, like leveraging our revenue authority, conservatively forecasting our revenues, and thoughtful use of reserves can work towards safeguarding the town's financial condition overall. As mentioned before, Wake County recently concluded a reappraisal process. Our tax base has grown 20% from this reappraisal. Tax base components are now 45% residential and 55% commercial. Tax base grows as new development and gains in appraised values increase. This contributed to the right sizing of property values to current market conditions, redistributing the tax burden across all properties based on current values. The reappraisal process occurred prior to COVID-19. Morrisville has been fortunate to sustain about a 3% average natural growth over the 4-year revaluation period. Overall, Morrisville's tax base from the reappraisal increased just over 20%. This is driven primarily by the increased values from commercial properties, specifically hotels and apartments, and other drivers that relate to improved values on residential that are specifically focused more on those properties that are $250,000 or less. It is important to remember that not all property values increase from market conditions in the same way. Some are higher and some can be lower. The revenue neutral tax rate is estimated at approximately 32.5 cents. Revenue neutral tax rate is defined as a tax rate that would generate the same amount of ad valorem revenue annually, adjusted for that natural growth in property values, as if no reappraisal had occurred. The tax rate is the town's primary source that provides core services for the community. Town Council is required to set a tax rate annually within their authority to raise revenues that help to provide for desired service levels that are core services. Council is not required to adopt a revenue neutral tax rate, but is required to disclose for transparency. There is not a one-size-fits-all approach for the reappraisal. It depends on the property, the location, comparables, age, the type of use, and the changes to the property over time. The information provided here is just a simple, non-specific sampling to illustrate property values and tax bills as the budget proposed to retain 4 cents above revenue neutral tax rate from the capacity generated by the reappraisal. It should in no way suggest that all property tax bills will be impacted in the same way as the samples. At the proposed tax rate included with this recommended budget, the impact to a median home now valued at $350,000, a homeowner's tax bill for this value of property might increase by $140 a year for the 4 cents above revenue neutral. For a commercial property that's valued at $15 million now, the tax bill might increase at the 4 cents above revenue neutral tax rate by $5,000 per year. What the money works for. Some of the items listed here are public safety. The budget overall has decreased from fiscal year 2020 by about 3.5%, largely due to no planned apparatus replacement that has skewed the comparison. When you remove that anomaly, it shows an increase of 7.8% over fiscal year 2020's budgets. That's largely due to personnel and putting public safety people on the street to help protect you. Public Works indicates a slight increase, likely due to shifts in planned equipment replacements and other inflationary factors with some contracted services like solid waste and recycling. Parks has increased overall from fiscal year 20 budget by 11%. That's primarily related to the reopening of MASC and other expanded programs such as the Senior Center I mentioned earlier and the preschool programs that are lead contributors here. Growth and Development Services is primarily due to kickoff of the Smart Shuttle public transportation service and other traffic flow and congestion improvements that are offered within this budget. General Government represents approximately 6% increase over prior year. There is no debt anticipated, however, we are proposing to establish a debt service fund separate to the general fund. This improves the tracking ability and the ability to retain retired debt annually to reapply towards future debt. For our stormwater program, the growth overall shown here increase is from a one-time stormwater master plan development that we have proposed in the budget. Budget priority highlights. I will touch on a few of these items as we go. I will not repeat all of them. For current and future needs, with a growing workforce and a need for added programs, you need space to accomplish those goals. It becomes important to develop sustainability plans to retain knowledge base of a workforce and continuity. In this day and age, security is paramount for both facilities and protecting our network environment and data. Continuing our good work, it requires resources to do that for a growing community and growing demands. Additionally, to continue our good work, we need to ensure organizational efficiencies. We have included 13 new positions in the budget. 4 are for a full year implementation. That's a network security administrator, a sustainability and solid waste coordinator, a senior recreational specialist, and an HR specialist. And we've proposed 9 that are for half-year implementation. That's 4 for a traffic patrol unit, 3 for fire captains to continue our Quint concept implementation and ongoing commitment, and an ERP or Enterprise System Administrator and an Athletics Field Maintenance Technician. Mobility solutions are likely one of the town's highest priorities. This year proposes a kickoff of a public transportation service called Smart Shuttle. The initial startup cost also includes and recognizes a 50% matching grant. Additionally, this budget works towards traffic flow improvements that are planned to work on congestion issues in critical areas. In continuing our good work towards becoming a smart city and other technology innovations, we need upgrades and efficiencies to create good automations. It also focuses on sustainability efforts that will support energy efficiencies and leveraging innovative solutions to protect our environment. Other highlights include investing in our future community needs. Also, creating advocacy and partnerships that enhance access and engagement to information and data. With a growing community, programs and enhancements for services must keep up. Enhancing the cultural and quality of life elements in the town becomes meaningful investments in our community. Through senior programs, expanded preschools, and the reopening of MAFC, creative cultural programs, and food hub activities, we can accomplish this. A key responsibility of any government is to take care of its assets. This budget also focuses on the needed equipment replacements and the care of our facilities that we own. And our budget also continues our proactive and preventative maintenance on our roadways. As part of our strategy in managing a projected budget within our limited capacity, difficult decisions were made to reduce and/or defer approximately $3 million in requested or planned needs. While these are common tactics and budget tools employed by most municipalities, they essentially kick the can down the road towards meeting the needs of the community. Some position requests were deferred. Some positions added this year were proposed as a half-year implementation to reduce cost. We've also reduced key equipment and vehicle replacement needs. The town has held new capital spending on capital investment project items, shifting our forecast out by 1 year. However, work will continue on key active projects that have designated resources to prepare in advance. Many requests were reduced or adjusted down or even held. This budget includes no reserve allocations for the future. Deferment tactics, while critically important tools during uncertain times, only delay the inevitable need for needs that can likely cost more in the future or even strain services. As responsible stewards, we have offered additional scenarios that illustrate ways that Council may reduce the proposed budget and lower the proposed tax rate if desired. As Council deliberates, staff is prepared to adjust where appropriate. Fund balance is our primary reserve or savings account. Fund balance is significantly important to our cash flow needs as many of our revenues do not materialize until the second and third quarter of the year. Fund balance is measured at year end and is calculated within that year as cash and investments minus liabilities and deferred revenues. Our policy is to have a fund balance fall between 25% and 45% as a percentage of that year's expenditures to handle cash flow and unforeseen circumstances that arise within a year, such as COVID-19. This budget anticipates utilization of less than 3% at recommendation. This was intentional to preserve and protect fund balance should uncertain economic conditions deteriorate further. Reserves become an important tool to a town if recession conditions linger, impacting the year-end performance for fiscal year 20 and the performance of fiscal year 21. Appropriate use of other reserves are smart ways to lessen burdens on the general fund revenues during economic times, but must remember that replenishing any reserves takes time to build up. This year, we have no allocations going to fire apparatus, capital investment program, transportation, or sidewalks. Our capital investment program is our long-range forecast to invest and maintain large assets or implement new ones that allow us to meet the needs and interests of the community. These are tangible projects such as buildings, roads, parks and greenways, and public safety facilities, for example. Our recommended CIP this year proposes no new capital spending for fiscal year 21. This is due to the economic influences and the uncertainty of the economy to control spending. However, work will continue on previously approved projects within the resources that Council has already designated. Projects do include some adjustment and inflationary factors, as they are shown here. How can you lend your voice? Council's budget calendar provides several work sessions to provide time for deliberations and guidance to staff. More importantly, it allows time and opportunities to hear from our citizens and businesses. A budget portal opened on May 12th and will remain open until June 10th. Additionally, there is a public hearing scheduled for June 9th. Join us online and connect to budget information at www.townofmorrisville.org/budget, or lend your voice through our budget portal and submit your comments at www.townofmorrisville.org/budget portal, or you can join us at our public hearing on June 9th. As always, we thank you for being involved and, more importantly, being an engaged citizen and business. That concludes our budget highlights. We thank you.